says, إِذَا زُكِّيَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْهُمْ خَافَ مِمَّا يُقَالُ لَهُ فَيَقُولُ أَنَا أَعْلَمُ بِنَفْسِي مِنْ غَيْرِي وَرَبِّي أَعْلَمُ بِي مِنِّي بِنَفْسِي اللهم لا تؤاخذني بما يقولون واجعلني أفضل مما يظنون. Very beautiful words of wisdom from Amir al-Mu'mineen as we look at the seerah of Aimma Athar. He says, when any one of them is spoken of highly, إِذَا زُكِّيَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْهُمْ. So when someone speaks about someone, he speaks highly of them. So for example, usually you see this trend when a speaker comes and he gives a beautiful lecture and speech, people say, Subhanallah, wah wah, and not just during the lecture, but even afterwards they come up and they praise of what they have said. Or if you look into other fields as well, the similar is the case, that people appreciate the things that that individual from the professional standpoint point of view has produced. Imam says, when any one of them is spoken of highly, that means someone is speaking highly of you. He says, I know myself better than others. Imam's response is, I know myself better than others, and my Lord knows me better than I know. Not only that, I know myself better than what you all know of me. You just saw me for an hour say some things, but I know myself. I'm not worthy of that praise. And number two, my Lord knows me better than even myself. Because alimun bidat as-sudur. He has all the knowledge in the world. He created me. He's aware of my instincts. That's why some people have difficult time understanding the concept of qaza and qadr. When we say this is the destination predestined to happen, they say, well, insan is majboor. When you speak, someone saying that, this is bound to happen. This is the qaza and the qadr and the predestination written for so and so. He said that means our hands are tied. That means we are majboor. We can't change the course of actions there. Then we might as well go ahead and do it. This is similar to the tactics what Banu Umayyah adopted. And up until today you hear the same things. That if Yazid hadn't done it, someone else would have done it. Right? So in order to remove the blame from Yazid, for example, this sort of tactic would come along. Or to go ahead and use similar tactics for other personal gains and interests. Here, the object which is being explained, that Imam ﷺ, when he speaks in this way, when he tells that a person comes and he tells you that you're so and so, and he praises you, in return you know and you tell yourself and you calm yourself down and not let this grab your attention and you start flying in the air saying nothing, no one is better than me. Humility and humbleness should always be there, because that is the lazima of ilm that you possess. The ilm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you, the first ayat of Quran which is revealed saying Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, which is emphasis on understanding and reading, which is a hint toward what? It is a hint towards that you should study, you should learn, you should educate yourself. This concept makes you what? The last ayat of Surah Alaq is ayat sajda. I won't read this ayat, otherwise you'll have to do sajda in front of me right now. Not in front of me, in front of Allah, but right now. Nonetheless, that last ayat is sajda. The first ayat is iqra. The last ayat is sajda. What does that tell you? Quran is telling us, when you attain knowledge, you become like a sajda. You become someone who then does sajda. Sajda represents your humility and humbleness in front of the Creator. Regardless of how big or strong I become, I'm still humbled by my Khaliq and my Rabb. Therefore, knowledge, the lazima of knowledge is that knowledge makes you humble. It should not make you someone who's arrogant, bragging and boasting and whatnot. So Imam says over here that whenever someone is spoken of highly, he says, I know myself better than others. My Rabb knows me better than I know. O Allah, do not deal with me according to what they say and make me better than they think of me, and forgive me those shortcomings which they do not know. This is how we should be as far as the response to someone who comes and praises you. Now, nobody is saying you shouldn't go ahead and praise people. No, you should continue to praise. Because when you praise someone for something that they have done genuinely good, then it encourages them to continue to progress. Because if you stop, appreciating them, this will lead to them becoming stagnant and they will not do anything. Actually, it could have an adverse effect as well. If someone is praised regardless of what they say, then they'll also become stagnant and saying that, look, whatever I say, people praise me nonetheless. That means I don't really have to do anything else. That could also be the adverse effect of the Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When they are praised, they start criticizing themselves. When someone comes and says, MashaAllah, what a beautiful lecture. He said, no, people have given better lectures than this. MashaAllah, what a beautiful, picture that you have painted. No, many people have painted better pictures than this before. Not that you're throwing yourself down. People must still continue to, as I said before, praise you in order for tanawwu, in order for new innovations to come out. They need to continue to appreciate your work. Pious know themselves better than anyone else. They have complete self-recognition, and therefore they don't get excited by their admirers. Problem in the society is that when one becomes famous, he or she tries to misuse this fame. They consider themselves above the law, and while constantly being praised by their admirers, they think they haven't done anything wrong. And if someone does bring something to their attention, right away you will find many enemies. The most important discussion here is self-recognition. One of the most difficult things to recognize is when our own soul, when our own self, our own nafs. A insan might reach the age of 80 and 90, it still doesn't recognize himself. Yeah? I might be 80 years old, 90 years old, but I still have not fully recognized myself. But on the contrary, I meet someone for a couple of hours, I know that person in and out. I'm able to judge that person. I'm able to criticize that person. I'm able to strip that person of their honor and dignity in front of others. How easily? I just met someone. I traveled with them. I was in a car with them, in an airplane with them for an hour or two. I know that person in and out. While I have difficult time recognizing my own self for the last 80 years, 90 years, however long I have lived. It's not that I haven't recognized myself. It's that I have that self-love, that compassion, that affection that prevents me to be just in this area. So there are four possible explanations about this sentence what Imam has given. First tafsir is the physical explanation, which, when Imam says, Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. I explained this hadith at another majlis, but this is a different angle. The first tafsir is the physical explanation, which originates from the Burhan al-Nazm, the argumentation of order. That is that anyone who can understand his physical bodily nature can recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you understand your own body, like physicians, they understand the body, they study the body, anatomy, they study from, the body, they understand the body. While studying the body of insan, they're able to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's called Burhan Nazm, or the argumentation of order. So his Lord, there are many elements of this function in our body that are so sophisticated. Back in the day, you only had a specialist of heart. Now you have 10 different specialties within heart. One deals with the, one aspect of the heart, the other deals with the other aspect of the heart, one is specialized. There are these minute and minor specialties that have come about, which is good for science, which is good for medicine. But back in the day, you just had one which just dealt with the entire heart. Now you have all these different areas. Same thing goes with other portions of our body, where you have people who have specialized in other minor areas. So this is what it is saying, that if a person is able to recognize his body, he's able to recognize the intricacies of our body, lead one to understand Rabbi Haqiqi, that how this can come into existence. Some of the things that you go through and you understand when you're facing it firsthand and you learn, it's just amazing the function that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created within us. The way some of these functionalities, some of these organs, is just superb and mind-boggling, and still people have a hard time believing that there's a Rabb and Khaliq who has created. So it is impossible to recognize Allah if you look at your own eyes from the aspect of physiology, likewise other organs. Number two, second tafsir that they give is that points towards Burhan, argumentation of cause and effect. So cause and effect, illat al-ma'lul, that there's a cause and definitely there's an effect. So if you see, usually the example that you brought up learning is, if you see smoke, it leads to what? That there will be fire somewhere. That's the burhan of cause and effect. So there's a cause and there's an effect. So this is where we are the effects, and there's a cause that is behind us. That is called the argumentation of cause and effect, and this is one way of recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third tafsir, I'm going through this quickly, is burhan al-wujud and imkan, the cosmological argument of necessity and possibility. Certain things are necessary existence and some things are possible existence. So we fall under the category of possible existence, because our wujud is not necessary, because without our wujud things continue to run. But with the wujud of certain people or certain individuals, and then khaliq haqiqi, those become the necessary beings, and that points towards only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these are some of the ways of looking at this. First three were based on arguments, barahin, burhan. Fourth tafsir is from the aspect of observation. I guess the first three did not really amuse you, but the fourth one is something which is to our liking and the one that we are accustomed to hearing. Salawat Nabi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In other words, as far as this observation, the aspect of shuhud is concerned, in other words, a person who recognizes his soul by removing the hurdles and the veils which are internal and external can observe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See, you don't want to go through cause and effect, you don't want to go through burhan and nazm, you don't want to go through other imkan and the argumentation of possibility and necessity. Fine. Now we'll give you the fourth one, which is shuhud, observation. That you remove the veils, you remove the obstacles, internal and external, you're able to observe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're able to see Him. Not see Him because you can't see Him with your eyes. The ayat of Quran negates that aspect. That eyes, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you and I, even when Amir al-Mu'mineen was posed with this question, that have you seen the Rabb that you worship? Imam responded by saying, how can I not see the Rabb that I worship? Then someone said, how do you witness Him? How do you see Him? Imam said, مَا كُنْتُ أَعْبُدُ شَيْئًا لَمْ أَرَى. I can't worship someone that I can't see. People asked him, how do you see? Imam said, لَمْ تَرَهَا الْأَبْصَارُ بِمُشَاهِدَةِ الْعِيَانِ وَلَكِنْ رَأَتْهُ الْقُلُوبُ بِحَقَائِقِ الْإِيمَانِ. He cannot be seen through the eyes, but the heart see Him through the realities of the faith. So these realities that we have, things that have become wajib and things that are haram upon us, things that are mustahab upon us, all of these aqaid that we have, mushahida of all of these things lead me to see Rabbi Haqiqi. Therefore, if a person recognizes himself, he has found the attributes by which he can recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he recognizes his own knowledge and power, then he will be able to recognize the knowledge and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat Nabi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। आज का जो जुम्मे का खुतबा था, उसमें से मैं सिफ़ात मुत्तक़ीन बयान कर रहा था। इमाम अली का एक खुतबा है नहजुल बलागा में, जिसमें अमीरुल मोमिनीन ने मुत्तक़ीन की सिफ़ात बयान की हैं। 110 सिफ़ात मुत्तक़ीन की बयान की हैं। उनमें से एक सिफ़त जो मैंने आज जिसके ऊपर रोशनी डाली इमाम के अक़वाल के तहत में, वो ये है कि जब भी कोई मद्दाह आपका एडमायरर आए और आपके मुंह पे आपकी तारीफ़ करे, तो पायस और मुत्तक़ीन वो होते हैं कि जो ये कहते हैं कि अल्लाह हमें इसकी पनाह से अपनी पनाह में ले ले, चूँकि हम जानते हैं कि हम इस मद्दाह के काबिल नहीं हैं और हम अपने आप को बेहतर जानते हैं और अल्लाह हमें हमसे भी बेहतर जानता है। तो लिहाजा इमाम का मैसेज ये था कि ज़रूरी नहीं है कि अगर कोई शख्स आपकी तारीफ़ करता है तो वो हक़ की ही तारीफ़ हो। लिहाजा इंसान को चाहिए कि नफ्स को पहचाने, अपने नफ्स को पहचानेगा तो अपने रब को पहचान सकता है। और ये लोग जो بلا وجہ انسان کی مداحی کرتے ہیں، چاپلوسی میں مداحی کرتے ہیں، بیسکلی ان لوگوں سے روکا جا رہا ہے، ورنہ ان لوگوں سے نہیں روکا جا رہا کہ جو جینوئن یقیناً کسی کے اچھی کارکردگی کے اوپر اس کو اپریشیٹ کرتے ہیں، اور وہ کرنا بھی چاہیے۔ اگر آپ کسی کو اپریشیٹ نہیں کریں گے، کسی کے کام کی تعریف نہیں کریں گے، تو وہ ان کے اندر آگے بڑھنے کی امنگ اور لگن نہیں ہوگی۔ تو تعریف کرنا برحق ہے، بجا ہے، لیکن ان لوگوں کی تعریف سے بچے انسان جو چاپلوسی کے لیے انسان کی تعریف کرتے ہیں تاکہ اس کو بڑا چڑھا کے دکھائیں، اور جب انسان کے اندر یہ بیماری آ جاتی ہے تو پھر وہ سمجھتا ہے کہ وہ سب سے اوپر ہے، ابو دا لا ہے، اس کو کوئی کچھ نہیں کہہ سکتا، اور جیسے ہی کوئی اس کو کرٹیسائز کرتا ہے فوراً وہ دوسرے کے سامنے اپنی کرٹیسزم کو چھپانے کی کوشش کرتا ہے۔ متقین وہ ہیں کہ جو سب سے پہلے اپنے آپ کے اوپر جو ہے وہ کرٹیسزم کرتے ہیں، اپنے آپ کو جو ہے وہ کرٹیسائز کرتے ہیں، کرٹیک کرتے ہیں اگر ان کے اندر کوئی خامی پائی جاتی ہے۔ یہ لب لباب تھا جو آج کا خطبہ جو ہے میں نے بیان کیا۔
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم۔ السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ میں آپ سب مومنین سے درخواست کرتا ہوں کہ چہلم کا امام حسین کا جلوس 26 تاریخ کو نیو یارک میں نکل رہا ہے، جس میں آپ لوگوں کی شرکت باعث افتخار ہوگی۔ مولا امام حسین کو پرسہ دیجیے گا، ان کی بیٹی کا، ان کے گھر والوں کا، ان کے خاندان کا پرسہ دیجیے گا۔ آپ لوگ زیادہ سے زیادہ شرکت کریں، کیونکہ اس میں شرکت کرنا اصل میں اپنے ہی لیے ثواب کا کام باعث بنتا ہے۔ اگر آپ لوگ شرکت کریں گے تو اس سے امام حسین کو یہ احساس ہوگا، وہ دیکھ رہے ہوں گے کہ میرے چاہنے والے ابھی بھی دنیا میں موجود ہیں، صرف کربلا ہی میں نہیں تھے بلکہ پوری دنیا میں موجود ہیں۔
السلام علیکم۔ 26 سپٹمبر کو سنڈے یہاں مسجد علی سے ہم سب خواتین بھی جلوس میں شریک ہو رہے ہیں، اور میں آپ سب سے استدعا کرتی ہوں کہ زیادہ سے زیادہ شریک ہو کے بی جناب سیدہ سلام اللہ علیہ کو ان کے بھائی کے چہلم پہ ان کو پرسہ دیں، اور ہم سب خواتین بھی بہت مل جل کر اور بڑھ چڑھ کے حصہ لیتی ہیں کہ ہمارا فرض ہے امام کی چہلم پہ ضرور شریک ہونا چاہیے۔ اگر ہم کربلا نہیں جا سکے تو انشاءاللہ ادھر ہم سب جلوس میں ضرور سب شریک ہوں گے۔
26 سپٹمبر کو جو نیو یارک میں جلوس چہلم کا برآمد ہوگا، انشاءاللہ مسجد علی آ رہے ہمارے سارے کمیونٹی ممبر والے اس جلوس کا انتظار کرتے ہیں۔ ہم شریک ہوں گے، ہمارے دوست احباب جتنے بھی ہیں، رشتہ دار وغیرہ، انشاءاللہ وہاں جوائن کریں گے۔
نیو یارک میں جو جلوس نکل رہا ہے غالباً وہ سب سے پرانا اور قدیمی جلوس ہے۔ مجھے اس ملک میں 28 سال ہو گئے ہیں، اور میں 28 سال سے اس جلوس کو دیکھ رہا ہوں۔ ہاں، شروع کے لگاتار 10-15 سال تو خود اٹینڈ کیا، لیکن پچھلے 10-15 سالوں سے اکثر یہ ہوتا ہے کہ ہم ان ایام میں کسی اور اسٹیٹ میں ہوتے ہیں، کسی اور جگہ تقریر کرنے جاتے ہیں، تو میں پھر شرکت نہیں کر پاتا ہوں، لیکن جلوس بدستور نکل رہا ہے۔ تو 28 سال تو مجھے ہو گئے اس جلوس کو دیکھتے ہوئے، تو یقیناً اس سے پہلے اس کی بنیاد رکھی گئی تھی۔